Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. So, if you're looking to really master how life is built from the absolute ground up, you've hit the jackpot today. We're taking a pretty fascinating journey, building up our biological knowledge block by block. We'll start all the way down at the microscopic level of a single cell and work our way up to a fully functioning organism. We've got a lot of incredible ground to cover, and I'm super excited to guide you through this micro to macro study guide.
Here's what we're tackling today. First, the biological hierarchy. Then we'll look at plant and animal tissues, followed by interacting organ systems. After that, a quick cell discovery timeline. And definitely stick around for number 5. We've got a rapid-fire exam review practice at the end to test what you've learned.
All right, Section 1, the biological hierarchy. Let's dive right into this.
Okay, so to understand how complex living things actually operate, we got to start really small, like microscopic small. And this right here, this is the absolutely crucial building block for everything else we're going to talk about today, a tissue. By definition, a tissue is a group of similar cells which all work together to carry out a particular function. Honestly, if you're prepping for a biology test anytime soon, memorize this word for word. It is a classic exam requirement. Basically, when cells of the same exact kind specialize to do one specific job, they group up. And that team of cells, that's what we call a tissue.
Now, a super quick point of clarification, because this actually trips up a lot of students. The word tissue has an everyday meaning and a very different scientific meaning, right? In everyday life, a tissue is just that disposable paper thing you grab when you sneeze. But in biology, as we just saw, it's a living, breathing group of working cells. It's totally worth explicitly separating these two meanings in your head right now so you don't get confused when you're reading your textbook prompts.
Moving right along to Section 2, Plant and Animal Tissues.
So we know what a tissue is in theory, but what do they actually look like in real life? Well, living things, organisms, are composed of tons of different kinds of cells. Let's look at a plant tissue first. Specifically, this is from the inside of an onion. It's called the onion epidermis. Just look at how perfectly these cells are packed together. Their particular function here is to act like a barrier, covering the surface of the layers inside the onion. It's essentially a microscopic brick wall. It's a brilliant visual representation of similar cells teaming up to do one specific, highly protective job.
And this brilliantly illustrates an animal tissue, the ciliated epithelium. Notice those tiny little hair-like structures on top of the cells? Those are called cilia. This specific tissue lines the tubes that lead straight down into our lungs. And here's the really cool part. The cilia all wave together, functioning kind of like tall brass swaying in the wind to help sweep things along the respiratory tract. Once again, it's a highly specialized team of cells performing a very specific function.
Which brings us to Section 3, interacting organ systems.
All right, so we're stepping one rung up the biological ladder here. We know cells make tissues, but what do tissues make? Well, they make organs. And a set of organs working together forms an organ system. Just think about your own body for a second. You've got distinct organs, right? A brain, a heart, a stomach, lungs. Each organ is made of several different kinds of tissues working together. But your stomach doesn't just do its own thing in isolation. It interacts with other organs, like your intestines, to form your digestive system. And you've got other interacting networks too, like your circulatory, respiratory, and skeletal systems.
But hey, it's super important to remember that animals aren't the only ones with organs and systems. Plants have them too. A plant's interacting organs include its roots, its flowers, and its leaves. Look at this incredible cross-section of just a single leaf. Even though a leaf is one single organ, this slide shows how it's literally packed with multiple specialized tissues. You've got the upper epidermis, the palisade layer, the spongy layer, and the lower epidermis. All of these distinct tissues have to work together just to make that single leaf function properly.
Okay, Section 4, cell discovery timeline.
Let's shift gears for just a second. How do we actually know all this? Like, how did humanity figure out that all living things are made of these microscopic cellular blocks? It's honestly a fascinating historical detective story. Now, what's really interesting about this timeline is seeing how our knowledge just snowballs as technology improves over the centuries. In 1625, Galileo builds the first microscope. That single new tool eventually lets Robert Hooke, in 1665, look at tree bark and describe these little empty compartments he calls cells. Then, a few years later in 1670, Leeuwenhoek upgrades the microscope and, boom, he actually sees living cells swimming around in pond water. Fast forward to 1838, Schleiden and Schwann proposed that all plant and animal tissues are made of cells. And finally, in 1855, Virchow drops the mic by stating that cells only arise from other cells. Science never stays still, you know. One discovery literally paves the way for the next.
And finally, Section 5, Exam Review Practice.
All right, my focus learners, we have covered the foundations, the tissues, the organs, the systems, and the history. Let's slow things down a bit. It is time to lock in what we've learned with our exam review practice. I'm going to ask you 5 rapid-fire questions sourced straight from the textbook material we just covered. Are you ready? Question 1. What is the function of the ciliated epithelium tissue? Think back to that diagram we looked at. I'll give you a second.
And the answer? It lines the tubes leading down to our lungs. Remember those little hair-like cilia waving together like grass in the wind, sweeping stuff out? That specialized motion is their exact function.
Okay, question 2. This is a fundamental vocab check. Fill in the blank. A group of similar cells is called a what?
A tissue. If you got that right, awesome job maintaining your focus. Remember, a tissue is that essential first step up from a single solitary cell.
Let's go one step higher up the biological ladder for question 3. Fill in the blank. A structure made of many different tissues is an what?
The answer is an organ. Think of your heart, your brain, or, like we saw in that plant diagram, a leaf. They are all structures built out of several different kinds of interacting tissues.
Question 4. This tests your knowledge of interacting networks. Fill in the blank. A group of organs carrying out a particular function is an what?
An organ system, right? Your digestive system, your respiratory system, your circulatory system, these are all sets of organs just working together in perfect harmony.
All right, last one. Question 5. We've made it to the very top of our micro to macro journey. Fill in the blank. A living thing, which may contain many systems, organs, and tissues, is called an what?
An organism. You, me, the plants outside, the animals around us, we are all organisms. And I want to leave you with this somewhat provocative thought. When you look in the mirror tomorrow morning, try not to just see a simple reflection. Really try to see an organism. A walking, talking, breathing miracle made up of intricate organ systems built from dozens of organs, constructed entirely by specialized tissues, which are literally nothing more than millions of microscopic cells working tirelessly together just to keep you alive. When you realize that you are a massive collection of interacting microstructures, it completely changes how you view your own body, doesn't it? Well, thank you so much for exploring this micro to macro study guide with me today. Keep studying, keep asking questions, and I'll see you in the next explainer.